Uh, Wagwan YouTube. Yeah. Hope all is well. Hope everyone is doing okay. You know what I mean? I hope those of pure heart find this video. You know what I mean? I hope that there's still some sane people who have empathy, because, you know, individuals who bear emotions are purely just showing that they are human. You know what I'm saying? Because people who don't have emotions, you know, aren't human. You're not acknowledging who you are. Anyway, this is take 2. You know what I mean? Yesterday, I tried to make this video, but I wasn't really feeling it, and I was getting swarmed by mosquitoes, as per usual. So, this is take 2, bro. Take 2. And like I said, I just want to speak on little points from the previous video. I kind of left some of the things that I mentioned in the video, like I didn't clarify exactly entirely what I meant by certain things. So I'm gonna just, give some little points and broaden people's awareness about these things, just so they can know in context, like, what it has to do in relation with Earth's planetary grid. So it's pretty hot here in the South, man. It's pretty hot. You know what I mean? I haven't felt this heat in a while, but when I say haven't felt this heat in a while, I mean particularly in Alabama. But, things is changing, bro. The main thing I want to talk about today is burial mounds. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of people in the black, quote unquote, black community, melanated people, like talking about, what our origins are as melanated people, and as we would all know, every race originates from Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because, the way life here on Earth began, we began as one whole thing, and then it spread out in all directions. You know what I'm saying? It spanned out in all directions, just like how the universe began and how most things begin. You know what I mean? Like how a seed begins its life. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's similar. It's all the same way, but so that's why Pan-Africanism is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I know people are familiar with Dr. Umar Johnson, and he's a funny dude. I didn't really know why he was so popular, but after I watched the interview with him on Don't Call Me White Girl, after I watched the interview on that podcast, you know what I'm saying, it definitely put some respect on his name. Like, he talks with passion, and he's very knowledgeable about the history of black people in general. It's just like the way he it's just a little too phone bugging, bro. But yeah, I know, there's a lot of emotion and trauma behind our history with white people. You know what I'm saying? It's very understandable. You know what I mean? But like, it's just like, you know, I don't know, man. I just feel like we in a time where we can move past these things, but I can understand why people still don't care to do that, because they not moving past this stuff. I mean, we move past this stuff in a lot of ways, but like, it's still very limited and not where it should be at. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, my point is like, we all as a people, as human beings, supposed to be unified. That's the only way we gonna really get somewhere like substantial in any future, you know what I'm saying, that we trying to create for ourselves. So, you know what I'm saying, like, that's how I'm looking at stuff, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, today in this video, we're just gonna talk about mounds, burial mounds that scatter all across America, you know what I'm saying? Because like, people love to talk about, like, you know, Egypt and the pyramids, or, you know, Aztecs and South America and stuff like that. Like, but, you know, in America, you know what I'm saying, we just hear about Native Americans, but people don't realize that like, not everybody came from Africa, you know what I'm saying? And like, when you study Moorish history, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, the Moorish Empire, you know what I mean, they played a big part in the slave trade back in the day, you know what I'm saying. If anything, slavery originates from black people, you know what I'm saying, enslaving their own people, not only in Africa but all across the globe, you know what I'm saying. So it's just like, you know, the reason why white people enslave us is because we enslaved them, you know what I'm saying. And it's just like a cycle, you know what I mean. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, black people need to stop having so much pride, like, and really look at what really was happening. And like, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff is just history repeating itself, and it's the whole reason why you know, melanated people as a whole, like, they whole like reign and empire fails, because, you know, of us going against each other, similar like to like what be going on today in the hood and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, like, where we just go against each other, and the main people that kill black people are black people, you know what I'm saying. So like, you know what I mean, they go back to the black fatigue type of stuff. It's just like, you know, it's just a constant reminder that like, we as a people gotta mature, bro. Like, we need to focus on different things other than perpetuating a culture that's degenerative, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, my point is like, when you really study and look far back in history about black people's origin in America, and how a lot of us are native to this land, you know what I'm saying, like, a lot of us did not come from Africa. A lot of us was already here when the colonizers came, you know what I'm saying. Oh snap. Oh, huge butterfly, bro. Huge black butterfly. That was so cool. But yeah, like, the Native Americans that you see that own the casinos and stuff like that, those are the Native Americans that sold out their own people, you know what I'm saying. So those are the ones who sold out their own people, just like they have what they call dirty Moors, you know what I mean. So back during the time where the Moors were, you know, ruling the majority of, you know, everywhere, you know what I'm saying. Like, when you start going into Moorish Empire and all that stuff, like, it started to make sense of where like all this Atlantis stuff come from and all that other stuff. Like, you know, hey, you going really far back in history, bro, because like, a lot of stuff changed in a very short span of time, you know what I'm saying. But you know what I'm saying? Um, like I said, the Native Americans that sold out their own people and stuff like that, those the ones that own the casinos and all that stuff like that. Those the Native Americans that don't look like quote unquote like black, but you know, majority of the stuff in America like is our stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? During the time, because the Moorish Empire extended here as well. So like, um, during that time we had castles and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And a lot of these buildings that exist today, like, are just buildings that you know, they just like took like that stuff was stuff we built. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But aside from that, I just want to talk mainly on the mound builders and those Native American cultures who were mound builders. You know what I'm saying? And how this ties into like them having awareness of Earth's planetary grid. You know what I'm saying? So I want to reference a book by the name of it's an encyclopedia of Native American mounds and earthworks. So if you don't know what a mound or a earthwork is, you know, mounds, burial mounds were where those cultures, those people like buried their dead, and it created like a little mountain, like a primitive pyramid basically. You know what I'm saying? So, and the earthworks are basically like macro, big, huge, like effigies, like made out of natural elements like rocks, or you know what I'm saying, trees and stuff like that. Like, you can just look them up. Like, majority of the time they're massive, like they're huge, like they span like miles in a certain area. So like you know, the mound building, when you look at this encyclopedia, the encyclopedia, like I said, it was called the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Native American Mounds and Earthworks by Gregory L. Little. Interesting fact about this book is like, you know, I bought this book I think about like 2 or 3 years ago for I think it was like $30 or $60, one of them. It's a pretty sizable book, but it's a hardback book. And I looked up the book today and it's worth quite a bit of money, man. And it's because it has a lot of very powerful information in there. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's why it's so expensive. You know what I mean? Not only because it ain't no hard copies left, but you know, when you got books like those that have deep knowledge in them, that is actually useful for people to know, like in mass today, that's why it's worth something. So I just thought that was interesting. But like, the person who made the book, Gregory L. Little, I'm gonna put picture references in the video, but you know, he made a lot of books about interesting topics, also about like what they excavated from these mounds, which interestingly enough, you know, were remains of giants, like large intact skeletal remains of giants. So you know, that's another reason why you could tell like why it's probably hidden, or why this book is worth something. You know what I'm saying? But like, all his books have some useful information in it, and it, you know, it usually talks about taboo topics like extraterrestrials and stuff like that. But yeah, look him up, Gregory L. Little. You know what I mean? But I mentioned this book because in the book, it gives you a whole bunch of illustrations, and it's literally an encyclopedia of um, most of the mounds and earthworks found all across America, like all everywhere, like all states, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So, when you look at these illustrations, you know what I mean? They look very reminiscent of like a motherboard, like or a circuit board. You know what I'm saying? Like the way they fashion these this architecture. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the way the reason why they built these mounds is also very ceremonial, and like it's similar to stuff like Stonehenge or the pyramids, where they make certain alignments with certain constellations, and also the certain moon cycles. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, like these things weren't like just like stuff that they just did to just be creative. Like it was an intention behind everything they was doing. So like I said, like when you look at the design, it looks very grid like, very motherboardish. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say like the concept of a motherboard originated from you know, the way Earth is fashioned. You know what I mean? Naturally, because the same way circuits on a circuit board or a motherboard intersect and, you know, run throughout the whole system, is the same way plants and trees and their roots underground like running around and stuff. And if you know anything about mushrooms, like, and you understand, like you have awareness about what the mycelium network is and how that organism creates its ecosystem and connects in a symbiotic relationship with everything around it. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's very reminiscent to the technology we create to, because like every form of technology is to mimic nature, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's called, like, if you just pay attention to the word, you know what I mean? You say it slowly. Technology. Technology. Take knowledge. So it's intrinsically like supposed to take knowledge from something, mimic it, and, you know, replace it, basically. That's literally what every form of technology does. Every form of technology is to mimic something that already exists, like in a natural state, and replace it. That's literally what it is supposed to do. You know what I mean? Most technology is made for convenience. You know what I'm saying? So you can attribute convenience to being to ignorance, because, you know, once this thing conveniently does this thing for you, like, you lack the knowledge on how to do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we have our cell phones. It saves numbers, and like it, you know, you don't have to remember the number like by heart. So now you're ignorant on, like, you know, who, like, what people's numbers specifically are. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just a small example of what technology does as a whole. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we eventually gonna lead to a future where we create AI and robotoid individuals that replace us as humans, because we giving our power away, knowledge, we giving our power away to something synthetic. You know what I'm saying? So by default, in that, the future that leads to is us being replaced by it. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, that's technology, bro. It's always something that mimics something organic. You know what I'm saying? And replacing it in a artificial form. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Yeah. If you look up the mounds You know what I mean? They look very reminiscent of like circuits on a circuit board. You know what I'm saying? Or if you could look at stuff like what's those things called? Crop circles. Those also usually give schematics for like, you know, ways for energy to be channeled, bro. Because that's essentially what all this stuff is focusing on, is on how you can channel energy. Yeah, I'm just looking at this lion's mane that's still growing over here. Like, I wanted to take some, but it's a bunch of bugs on it, so I don't think it's safe to eat. Like, I can clean them off and stuff, but like, who really gonna eat that, bruh? I ain't finna eat that shit. Not unless I'm absolutely forced to eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we at survival mode, but we ain't that much in survival mode. So, okay, yeah. So like nature, this is also why when you go out in nature, you know, you get a sense of relief and release, because nature has fashioned itself to naturally flow with how life flows. You know what I'm saying? Because everything is energy. You know what I mean? And energy moves in a fluid manner. So like, you need to emulate ways for things to move, like energy to move like water. You know what I'm saying? In a fluid nature. You know what I'm saying? That's how water naturally moves. And that which essentially means it moves in curves. You know what I'm saying? It ebbs and flows and stuff like that. So like, when you think about like how cities are designed, or you know how houses are designed and stuff like that, they're designed in a way for to limit the flow of energy. You know what I'm saying? With these rigid shapes that we use to build things. Now, fundamentally, you know what I'm saying, it's easy to build upon stuff with these shapes, obviously, but like, you know, from a spiritual and energetic standpoint, like, this is why living in the city can be very chaotic, and why dysfunctional ways of living, like crime and all this stuff, exist in the city, because the way cities are designed, for one, it's too many people all in one space. Like cities like New York, like, you know, it's a whole lot of demon time that be going on in places like that. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, where people is like literally stacked on top of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, every individual needs space for they self to like breathe, like in a harmonious way, bro. Like, we all have an aura. You know what I'm saying? When you too close to people, like, it creates friction. It creates like, you know what I mean, that friction creates radiation. You know what I'm saying? That's why when a lot of people are in the same space, it kind of get hot. You know what I'm saying? It gets hot because, you know, us just being close in proximity generates heat, like, because of our aura. You know what I'm saying? Them auras are created from the heart. You know what I'm saying? And all our internal inner workings, like generating energy. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, when you have too many people in close proximity, you know what I mean, where energy can't move freely, you know, dysfunctional things happen. You know what I mean? It's easier for lower states of being to manifest. You know what I'm saying? That's what humans don't understand. Like, as far as modern day humans, we don't understand that. Like, there are things that exist today that people are becoming more aware of like stuff like permaculture and like what are them things called, earth homes, where you build things, you build a home purely off of like recycled and natural means. You know what I'm saying? And it's all stuff that work together to maintain the whole space. It's some, that's some futuristic stuff right there. You know what I'm saying? In the future, if we was headed in the right direction, this is the type of stuff we would be building. But instead, the type of future they want to promote is the super city, mega cities, where everything is integrated through like a and connected through a grid network. You know what I mean? Like once they have holograms and shit like that, like it's gonna take a pretty large like unified system for those things to work. And you know, when they create something like that, no one ain't gonna have no privacy. Like I know there was some things floating around the internet about how like people are getting chips in their head, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, getting the little barcodes, and you know what I'm saying, and the stuff that they doing with the star ID, like stuff like that, bro. Like it's all a means to track everything that a person is doing, so they can control like what you do on a daily basis and use your energy, your likeness, you know, to keep their system going. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have a future like that, or you could have a future like what I mentioned before with the permaculture and all that stuff, where it's more natural living, and like, you know, that'll translate to something more organic. You know what I'm saying? The latter is less organic. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, my point of saying all of that stuff is like, in comparison to being out in nature, being in the city is very dysfunctional, and it's because, you know, you're completely absent of being in a natural environment. You know what I'm saying? Like I said in a previous video, when you stand outside with your shoes off to ground, that literally dispels negativity. Like nature is nourishing. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go to a rainforest or some dense jungle, there's fruits that grow there that cure diseases, that cure cancer and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because it's a natural environment that has maintained a space for natural harmonics to be at play. You know what I'm saying? This is why spring water is so clean and tastes so fresh. You know what I'm saying? It's because that water comes from its natural state. You know what I'm saying? Like being filtered by natural means of all the sediment and materials in that space. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people don't really understand the science of how much sound, harmonics, and frequency influence every part of reality. You know what I'm saying? That's why the music today that my culture, Black American culture promotes today is so dysfunctional, and it's why it's one of the main reasons why like our people are so dysfunctional as a whole. It's because of the music. You know what I'm saying? That's one reason why. That's one reason. There's many reasons why, but like the music is one thing that keeps you tethered to that reality. You know what I'm saying? Because playing music and repetition programs your subconscious mind. That's why that is. You know what I'm saying? So like even when you're trying to get away from stuff, like, you know, it's in your subconscious, so you still might be experiencing these things in other states of consciousness while you asleep. This is why people who are in those type of lifestyles, they gotta smoke so much, because, you know, those things be resurfacing in their subconscious when they go to sleep. So like they rather sleep, you know what I mean? They rather go to sleep and not dream about anything. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's the intention behind what they be doing, but like, you know, if I was in that situation, that's what I would be doing. So I don't be in that situation. I remember all my dreams. I can't believe that some people don't even dream. It's quite appalling to me. But yeah, yeah. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about was the burial mounds. Do y'all research about the burial mounds, bro? It's a deep history about America, and it'll give you context on foundational Black Americans on their native indigenous roots here in America. Like, not all of us came from Africa, bro. You know what I'm saying? Some of us came from South America. You know what I mean? Traveled all the way up here, you know, hitting parts of Florida and all of that stuff. Like, bro, like the history between all of us is so like way more vast than what we just want to make it be. You know what I'm saying? But you know, another thing I mentioned in the last video was the Bermuda Triangle, bro. So you know what I'm saying? Like, when you look up any type of controversy about the Bermuda Triangle, what's most well known is that like there was you know, things like disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. Certain military planes or ships completely disappear in the Bermuda Triangle, and apparently that's because there's a pyramid underwater in the Bermuda Triangle, which goes back that the reason why I'm mentioning this is because, you know, it ties into everything I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? About Earth's planetary grid and how the mound builders and all these ancient structures like Stonehenge and the pyramids and stuff like that, all this stuff ties into those things, bro. And you know, if things were really disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle, this could give you credence as to why that was happening, because they said that that pyramid was apparently connected to Atlantis. So it was a part of Atlantis, and you know, all this free energy stuff and all that stuff, all them ancient cultures that, you know, sound very niche and pseudo, like they was really on the free energy stuff. They was really on that stuff. Like, you know, that's why I talk about this stuff so much, because in the past, in the ancient past, you know, we were way more advanced than what we are today. You know what I mean? Like, who we are today is a way more bastardized version of who we were, like, in previous lifetimes. You know what I'm saying? And those previous lifetimes, like, weren't too, like, long ago, if you really study the history. But, you know, apparently there's a glass or crystal pyramid in the Bermuda Triangle, and you know, it was supposedly used as like an interdimensional portal, or like, you know, a conduit for free energy. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is the reason why I'm mentioning this stuff, because it ties into everything I'm talking about. So, like, you know, I think that's worth looking up as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, like, a lot of this stuff is considered pseudoscience. So, like, you know, mainstream wise, they will all obviously deny these things. But for anybody who knows the deeper mechanics of life, you know, none of this stuff is very pseudo at all. You know what I'm saying? None of it at all. You know what I mean? Like, I try to articulate myself and speak about things and convey it in a way where people can understand it in a simple way. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say everything is energy, because that's me breaking down everything you see in reality and simplifying it in its simplest form, and that's energy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And one thing that we all know is, for anything to be alive, it needs to stay in motion. So if it needs to stay in motion, It needs to stay in motion in a way where it flows smoothly. You know what I'm saying? This is what nature does, like naturally. You know what I'm saying? But humans, the things that we create to mimic nature, does that in the opposite way. You know what I'm saying? It restricts the flow, like it keeps it bottled up. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about it. The science behind burial mounds and ancient structures across America. And, you know, there may be a pyramid underneath the ocean in the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But for me, when I'm trying to tie in things and make sense of stuff as far as like, you know, disappearances and stuff like that, makes sense to me. Anyway, peace, YouTube. I definitely will be back again talking about some more interesting topics. Um, Everything I'm gonna talk about is always gonna be for certain types of people. If you don't know already, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have open enough mind to really understand, if you're not already aware of the things that I'm talking about, then and you're not curious or open-minded enough to learn about it, then just click off, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. Yo.